Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where real estate meets real life skills. Hosted by Andrea Lane and Alyssa Bicar, each episode features investors turning their unique edge into long-term rental success.
Hello and welcome to the Built for This podcast, interviewing real estate investors with their real identity and how they're building wealth through the pursuit of bringing their personal and professional expertise to the grand pursuit of passive income and wealth building. Andrea, who do we have for him today?
So tonight we have Joyce Kraley, who is a real estate investor. She invests in the Pittsburgh area right now, and she has 5 units and wants to grow her business. And so I'm very excited to have her on because you don't always hear about people who invest outside their area.
It is so cool. So we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes. So Joyce, welcome to the show. Why did you get started in real estate investing?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. I first got involved in real estate investing more to be able to have another stream of income and diversify out so that when I go into retirement, I had some other funds coming in versus just relying on the stock market, for example.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you love about it?
It's definitely been an interesting process. Initially, when I got in prior, I was really initially looking at maybe doing fix and flips, but then I realized shortly into that process how much more was required just to get the property and all that. And I was a solo person doing it. And I realized that just wasn't going to cut it, even though I had done some other renovations of some sorority properties that I was involved with in my own house. Finding properties and getting into that was a lot trickier. So I decided probably more of a passive route would be good. So, that's where investing in some single family homes and then, having a property manager manage that aspect. So I'm just managing the property manager would be less time consuming and more doable as a way to have income come in. And excuse the cat.
Yeah. So what I love about this is you were looking for ways to diversify your income, to diversify your assets, and then you realized, hey, I was going to do fix and flip because I had done some renovations before, but as a business model, sounds like that was like herding cats. Yeah?
Yeah,
like
it was overwhelming that way.
Yeah, it wasn't your main skill set, your main expertise. So being that you were coming from a professional background and previous life experience before that, what do you feel your skills were that lent themselves to your real estate investment business?
I would say more just, I have a stronger financial background as far as understanding finances at a high level. And then just working with customers in my professional life. So interacting with others that way is more probably what came to the table and just, having to, get things done on a schedule.
So project management, I'm hearing the ability to connect with other people and create projects with others that have other skill sets. So like that networking aspect of bringing other people's competencies to the table. And I love that, your financial acumen. Much like when I got started, I had a background in financial services. So bringing in that expertise of I know how to talk this talk. I know what these terms mean at a baseline. So that wasn't a huge learning curve for me. I felt like I had competency there. So that's what I built on.
Right.
So yeah, I love that, building on your skills, building on what you already felt confident and comfortable in. And how'd that go? Tell us a little bit about your build out, your investing journey.
So that took a little bit longer figuring out the properties, the area to invest in. I ultimately connected up with Coast to Coast as a way to get more aware of some of the different pieces, what to be aware of, how to plan for the purchase, and then ultimately investing in 5 properties.
I mean, did you start with 5 properties though? Like, did you buy 5 right off the bat or what?
I did when I finally made the leap.
Oh my goodness, go big or go home. So you bought 5 at once and then, then what happened?
Uh, then it was an interesting process of just getting through the purchase cycle. Was a little bit more of an experience and figuring out, you think you understand what you're going to need, and then you realize you still needed more funds in the end because nothing was exactly the way they conveyed it would be. And then as soon as we were in, first thing we had was a waterfall come down a little bit on one of the properties within 2 weeks of owning the property. So thankfully, there was money set aside that Coast to Coast was going to do for some repairs on another property, and they just covered that one at the same time. Um, but then I would say the biggest change was one, settling in on the property management company and getting familiar with with what they do, and then just the amount of turnover. So it seemed like as soon as we got in, we had properties already either exiting because their lease was done or they weren't paying. So, we're dealing with vacancies, and one group that was vacant, their lease, they were going to be in for just the 4 months, and basically the lease was up. We were like, "You're done." So we didn't really go through an eviction process because you're still getting used to all this. But we basically were like, okay, you're out, and then start the process of getting other tenants, getting the place set up to be re-rented and getting new tenants in. So it was definitely a couple year process of getting through this. And one of the big hurdles we ran into was the one property we had, the tenants had been there probably a year and a half when their lease was coming up. And so they were going to move on, which is fine. But then the gas company decided they didn't like where the gas meter was. And so that added like about 5 months to the process to get everything relocated to their satisfaction before we could actually rent the property. So that was a bit more of a curveball that we weren't necessarily
I
expecting
mean,
to have.
So
expect the
that's
unexpected, right?
Yeah,
100%. And learning that when you get in, especially jumping in with 5 properties, there's always stabilization. It's never what the gurus say. Buy it, rent it, come in with millions. That doesn't quite
no.
work as smoothly as you'd like. Yeah,
Yeah,
get
I'd
that.
say it was definitely a good 2 year stabilization process.
Not
And
a,
then, we do have one property that's getting ready to switch over after a couple of years. So, starting to go back through that process a little bit. But,
it's all,
the others that we set, but it is a cycle, and
yeah.
got to roll with the punches, I guess, is the way to put
So
it.
I have a question for you. What do you think your unfair advantage is? What is it that you bring to the table that other people don't have?
I'm not really sure what I bring that's quote an unfair advantage. I think it was more just probably doing the networking at the time and connecting up with some of the other people we met actually at one of the meetings Coast to Coast held in Pittsburgh. And, you're doing the networking and connecting with people, building those rapport helped a lot to help with coming up with some of the funding.
That's great because real estate's built on your network, not on the properties. So that's exactly what I found in my career.
Yeah.
So, can you share a recent win that you've had or a big lesson that you want to share with somebody about what to do or what not to do?
I would say one of the key things you have to do is you really have to stay on top of the property manager. You are managing the property manager for sure. Because if you don't, they're not always paying attention and keeping up with what's supposed to get done when. And then also, as part of that, definitely review all the expenditures going out to make sure that they're staying within the agreement that you signed. So, like one property manager, I have two property managers that I work with, and one company I was set up where I don't get. You'll find like a lot of times when there's bigger repairs, they add a fee on, and one of them I don't have that fee, just the way I've set up my thing. And but yet you'll see that always get added, and then you go, you need to remove those fees because those aren't legit charges. So,
So when
um,
So when you have a property manager, it is very important that you stay on top. It's more important before you even start that you have the right contract with the right property management group. And it sounds like that you've learned that the hard way on some of them and the easy way on others. But yeah, that's
yeah,
absolutely what happened. Alyssa, did you have a question? Sorry.
I mean, I just want to just comment that, you bit off 5 doors, which is like, I just want to be like bow down a little bit to you here, because in my journey, I did my first one and then I was okay. And then I did a couple more and then I felt like all hell broke loose. So I have a lot of compassion for the thing that you're describing right now. And I'm actually hearing through your story that staying on top, you can't just hire people and then assume they're going to do what they're going to do.
no,
You hire people and then it actually, the expectation I feel like I'm learning from you here is right now, the expectation is that I'm going to learn about this process through the property manager. Now, my client isn't the tenant. My client is the property manager. They're working for me, so I'm their client, but also I'm driving the process. So having this idea that there's hands off and all the things, roses are going to sprout and it's going to be, wonderful and bloomy.
isn't the case.
Yeah, no, but I love that you grew through that process. You learned, how. My question kind of around that is, how did you know that this is what you needed to do? Like, what happened that you realized, oh, oops, I shouldn't just let them run like cats running amok? Or, can you just give us a little bit of kind of a backstory around how you realized that this
Sure.
is something you need to do?
Yeah, sure. So I want to actually address one other thing real quick. I know you said you were a little surprised when I jumped in and did 5 at once, but part of it was from some of the things that we'd learned from some of the coast to coast staff we worked with. If you have a minimum of 5, although 10 is probably better. If there is a vacancy, you've got a little more leeway with some of the others rent to help cover that one, right? Versus if you only had one, if that's not rented, you're coming up with other money. Okay. So that's one reason why I went and did the route of 5 initially. The other reason for staying on top and looking at the numbers and stuff like that is I mentioned earlier I had done some work with a sorority, and I had helped with managing, overseeing some of their finances. And you know how people fall behind, and you're like, no, you got to stay on them. So the same process really applied when I was doing with the property managers. It's more like, where are those numbers? Let me stay on top of where things are at, where are the projections, what's shifting, how is that impacting things. So financially, part of it was just to stay on top of what's happening and where do we expect things to be.
Oh, I love that. So your secret sauce, just to like, yeah, we drew it out of you a little bit, is stay on top of your projects, stay on top of your people, and know your people well. Yes?
Yes, yes.
So as we're wrapping up, what exciting things do you have planned in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, I'm working to try to close a different property deal elsewhere that has taken quite a while, but once that gets done, then I would hope to look at purchasing another 3 or 4 properties, I would say. And I'm just trying to figure out, and with that, I've just been exploring what I do closer down to Florida where I live, or would I do more up in the Pittsburgh area. So just, still exploring where I would want to do the purchase of additional properties. Just like you diversify your holdings and stuff, would it be good to diversify regions where one has the properties?
So you just need to be careful with that because you lose your economy of scale and you actually have to worry about 2 locations at every time. And I'm in
Yeah.
multiple locations. I'm a big believer, but I have portfolios wherever I go. It's not 1 or 2. So
Right. So that's why I'm still like figuring out what am I doing there exactly. But
great. So I'd like to thank you so much. We really appreciate you being with us, Joyce, and sharing your tips and what's going on, because very few people have mentioned the property manager, yet that is so key to making sure everything runs smoothly. I personally love property managers, but you do need to manage them. So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way that they can connect with you?
I would say email is probably the best, and the other alternative would be
Email?
LinkedIn. Say
What's
that
your
again?
email?
Email was
What
probably the
is your
best.
email?
I'm sorry.
What's your email?
Oh, it's J Kraley, so that 83@gmail.com. So that's JKRALEY 83@gmail.com.
Okay. And you were saying something else
And I can also be found on LinkedIn.
at Joyce Kraley?
Yeah, Joyce Kraley.
Perfect. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much. We really appreciate the time you spent with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
And you've heard it here. Really owning property boils down to owning the relationships and the processes and taking 100% responsibility for those successes and outcomes. Thanks a million for being here. You heard it on Built for This. We love and appreciate your audienceship and your viewership, so please stay tuned, stay right here. We have another amazing episode queued up for you right after this, so don't go away.
This wraps another episode of Built for This. If you're a real estate investor with a unique edge, apply to join us at builtforthisshow.com/guest.